But yes, well, I agree. I mean, I don't want to stick to the Bible. I mean, even from a humanitarian point of view, look, crime disrupts the smooth running of a society.
Of course, we all agree with that.
Good. The criminal justifies himself by robbing the other person of property and even life. It is only fair that the theft be sort of compensated for. If it is property, payment or in prison. If it is life, then life is life. What wrong are you doing if somebody takes another person's life and and then the state which has that takes his life? You're not doing anything wrong when you do that. Because you see, it's in that you're doing, that is a law which has been set down. And I am saying that when you're looking at this sort of morality and whatnot, you cannot omit the readings of the Bible, which you have accepted as God's word.
And when you say you, who are the you that you're speaking about? No. This is where we're coming in and trying to tell you, John. What I and you agrees with that, the legislators has taken into consideration that they cannot introduce laws in act legislation according to what lays down in their particular doctrine.
So, in other words, then, George, let us take the Bible and throw it through the window.
No,
because
I did not say that. No.
So why are you using it when it does not cover all mankind?
I am saying to you, it's all mankind. The Bible is not the book of choice for morality and spiritual.
But then throw it away because it is not a universal director.
Let's not get into that. Let's get into that some other time. We are here on the stage. Well, we're going to take a break a little later on because of the technical difficulties. You know, I am not saying that. I would not say that to throw it away. I will never say that. What I'm saying to the reality is that everyone in the society in which I live does not use the Bible as their book of moral and spiritual guidance. Not that they don't accept.
What's the purpose of using it?
And listen to me. I don't want to limit this discussion to the Bible. I am saying to you, you quote so many things from the Bible. And yes, this is true. I and you will not be crossroad with this topic. The only thing I'm trying to get to you, John, is that if I, meaning me as an individual, along with some other colleagues, given the opportunity to serve the people from the highest level, the citizens of my country, my dogma, my doctrine cannot be one which I use to impose conditions on my people. I could use it for my spiritual guidance. I can use it for my wisdom. Okay? But I have to remember that I live in a plural society that with all different forms of religious beliefs.
Well, George, if that is so, George, what is the purpose of a book that does not serve your society and only pockets of it?
Okay, we're going to get into that some other time because I think this discussion is going to go down a different road here now. Okay. And I would rather stay off of that for this time because you see, we want to really zero in on the death penalty and look at the death penalty. You see, if we...
I want to give the numbers first.
Yeah. If we abolish the death penalty, John, all right, what is the benefit? How will that benefit the society?
That is
what is it? What will be the benefit from that?
that
I could tell you of a situation where could be 20 years ago where a guy chopped his neighbors and said he does not hang people in Trinidad again. Once a criminal does not have that fear of the death penalty, there is going to be an increase in murder. That's my personal opinion. Now, however, the argument is there is a death penalty and murders are still committed every day. Once there is a death penalty, the death penalty has not been carried out. And in that way, people know that because of the kind of legal system and all the legal barriers, they could probably go to prison, and you know it within 5 years or 3 years they can be out if they commit a murder. But if they know that that system is there, that they have a great chance of being executed if they carry out a murder, it is less likely, and I said less likely, I want to stress that, and I'm saying that they're not going to have murders. It is less likely that a person will commit a murder without thinking. He will think twice before he do it. Now, even if the death penalty does not do anything for crime, it does not decrease crime or put fear in the minds of the criminal, the fact of the matter is the death penalty is the appropriate punishment for murder. It is a punishment for your crime.
Of course, but George, you and I are going the same road, so you need to tell that to our two colleagues. Because my question is this: if the liabilities of the death penalty don't outweigh the assets, what is the position? We need to answer that question. The liabilities about it does not outweigh the assets. Think of where we would be at. Anyhow, I think we want to bring the numbers at this point just before we take the break. Agreed?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, we want to take a break now, but before we do that, we'd like to give you the contact numbers and different emails that you can get into us, because we'd certainly like to welcome your calls, your emails, and whatever, so that you can participate more fully in the discussion here with us. Now, those of you in the United States of America, your number, 718-879-5560, extension 303. That will get you into the station. Again, 718-879-5560, extension 303. Our brothers and sisters in Canada, 416-800-0392, extension 947. Let me say that again for our brothers and sisters in Canada. It's 416-800-0392, extension 947. Those in London, it's 44203-318-2614. Let me repeat that for our brothers and sisters in London. 44203-318-2614. If you're calling us at MSN, it's ccv@ccvradio.com. That's ccv@ccvradio.com. Facebook or Skype, you may contact us at CCV Radio. That's CCV Radio. And that's for Facebook or Skype. We look forward to your calls. We welcome them. And you can send us your emails. We will treasure those as well. All right, we take a break and we'll be back with you in a few minutes.
Tell it as it is, with your hosts, Leon George and John Galman. Real talk, real issues.
Welcome back to CCB Radio, and this is Static Like It Is, and tonight we're discussing the death penalty, whether it should be abolished or not. Now, before we go off air, we was looking at what would you like to be, what is appropriate punishment? Why would not if you abolish the death penalty, what is the benefit of abolishing the death penalty? How will the society now be viewed at? Because we don't execute our murderers. A man is allowed to commit the most heinous crime, and he's allowed to go into prison, probably spend the rest of his life, probably spend 10 years, 15 years, and he's back out into society. And he's committed the most heinous crime. You can go in there and you can talk about reform and all these sort of things. You can talk about giving back to society and all of that. What you're doing really here is giving this defendant, this person who committed this heinous crime, you have just rewarded him. That's the way I look at it. Because you have rewarded him, you have given back his life, you give him an opportunity to function in society now, and makes a contribution, and then you will say he's paying retribution or whatever for it, and then the family of this victim will be be affected by this crime for the rest of their life, and then they will have to live with that. That this criminal, this person who committed that crime is going to be back out somewhere in society again. Now, then I know we talked about the Bible and all of that before, and then the term of forgiveness and all of that is going to come into play, because if we are Christians, we are supposed to forgive and all of that. But I does agree with that. But however, when we forgive, our forgiveness must not be seen as a reward for what the person have done. It does not mean that a person should escape punishment or the penalty for their crime. When you forgive, it simply means that you does not hold it inside of you and keep the anger there, which will affect you for the rest of your life. If you does not forgive, you keep anger. You can forgive, you can move on, but it does not say that you will want the person to not receive the just dues for the crime that they commit. I could forgive you.
I'm not.
George?
I would put on the argument of forgiveness. It's not a matter of forgiveness. It is simply choosing an alternative form of punishment. I'm not saying they should go free. I think they ought to be punished, but an alternative form is fine.
And that is what I want to zero in on tonight. What is that alternative form of punishment? That is what I want to know.
Incarceration for the rest of their natural life.
George?
Before I get back to you, yes, John.
Yes, what I am saying is this, that the idea, and if I could even add to what you're saying, George, don't let us look at that it is vengeance and we think, oh yes, you have to do. No, you are given a commensurate penalty for the crime you have committed. It is not vengeance that we are taking out on you. I hate you, and look what you do. I must vent my wrath on you. No, you have committed a crime for which there is a penalty, and we'll give you that and no more.
That's right.
That is what it is.
That is correct. It's not about vengeance. And
not at all.
Yeah. And Reverend Henry, you talk about being incarcerated for the rest of their lives. I don't think.
When justice is done, it must seem as having been done. Remember that I have lost my relative at your vicious hand. Then you are incarcerated for the rest of your life, and I feed you with my taxes. You've also got to remember that somebody should make me feel justified that justice was done. And I am not looking for blood. I am not sadistic. There is a law of the land which says if you shed a man's blood, yours should be shed by man. And that is just what we do.
John,
Death penalty is for when you commit murder, not homicide.
And right, I want to zero in on that. I want to get you in on that. But do you know there are countries where the death penalty is applied not only for murder, for other types of crime?
Yes, like treason.
Theft. Even treason, theft, even blasphemy, yes. Even corruption.
Well, as Clay said a little earlier on, in a more ancient civilization, you were stoned to death if you committed adultery. You were stoned to death for being a witch, being thought to be a witch.
The thing about this is not even in ancient society. We're talking about modern, societies today. I don't want to call them modern. They don't behave like they are modern. But I can tell you there are lots of countries around the world today that apply the death penalty not only for murder. China is one. Saudi Arabia. You have Singapore or Malaysia for drugs, drug trafficking.
But I mean, that does not apply in our side, our neck of the woods. So, I mean, I am not responsible for that. I am responsible for what happened in our.
You see, no, what I'm getting, what I want to get from you is, John, is that you support the death penalty only for murder or for other forms or other types of crime.
For capital crime.
You don't support the death penalty for the forms.
I support the death penalty if someone is found guilty of having committed murder. Murder, we know, is not homicide. Murder is when, with malice aforethought, you have planned to kill someone else. As far as I am concerned, that deserves capital punishment. And talk about a pregnant woman? No, certainly not. And I tell you why. She's carrying a human creature within her that is not guilty of anything and should not suffer execution with her.
You see, we have people who can kill another people just by the stroke of a pen. Right?
Yeah. If you're found guilty and proven guilty by your own countrymen, I say you should. A capital punishment. I don't talk about barbaric because there are certain very humane ways of putting it to sleep.
Well,
it doesn't have to be the guillotine. That I think is barbaric. But there are certain ways that are rather a palliative passing.
How you know that?
But you know, okay.
It isn't that I have died already.
Oh.
But
okay.
I know that there are very simple ways where you can die.
Yes, but you see again, you talked about the Bible, and you know, the Bible said those who kill with the sword shall be killed by the sword, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking the sword either. We've got some emails, and the time is going. I should come with the emails. We've got Kurt Leonard. Kurt, as usual, you've always sent us something, and we've got you here. We shall read Kurt's email, and then we make a comment on it. Kurt says that the death penalty will never be enforced because Trinidad is a so-called independent country that is still tied to the Privy Council of England rather than go to the Caribbean Court of Justice. Richard, we let you take this one. You want me to read it again for you, Richard?
Well, okay, before Richard come in, it says not just the Privy Council alone. Even if, right, okay, even if we abolish the Privy Council of the final Court of Appeal and we go to the Caribbean Court of Appeal, Trinidad and Tobago has still assigned or chartered a number of what you might call United Nations conventions on human rights, and all these different charters that the legal team has the option of exploiting that you can apply to. So, in terms of the Privy Council, there are some challenges or legal barriers that we will have to go through before we can come with an execution. That will depend also on a lot on the political will of the government in office at the present time, because we had an Attorney General who was able to carry it out in spite of the Privy Council, in spite of all those legal and United Nations charters we were assigned to. He was able to carry the NLP, not because of a Privy Council or because we have the death penalty or still on our statute book. He was able to carry it out in spite of. And that in itself, and we have not seen that kind of aggressiveness since that was 1999, I think it was. Yes, I think it would have been around 1999. We have not seen that kind of aggressiveness in terms of carrying out the death penalty since that time. I believe that the last time we would have carried out an execution in Trinidad and Tobago could be as low as 10 years ago. Could be wrong.
Benign?
Yeah, we had a situation in 1999 where we hung 9 people actually on one day. I think it was one day. Well, over a period of time to be sure. However, I said the last execution would have taken place. Could have been as much as 10 years ago in Trinidad here. Could be as long as 10 years ago. Since that time, we have not able to count. We were not able to count. Many individuals would have been told that they will have to be executed at a certain time, but for some reason, the death penalty was not. We hadn't had an opportunity to execute anybody since 2000 or somewhere around there, or just after there. You know,
I don't think we have executed anybody. No, we haven't executed anybody in the 2000. It's a long time that hasn't happened in Barbados. Okay,
right.
all right.
Okay.
We have.
Before you, go to the email.
We have Carolyn. Thank you, Carolyn, for your call. And here we've got Carolyn's submission. Carolyn says that the death sentence should be enforced. This will help to reduce crime. Why should the state fatten the criminal by not enforcing the death sentence? This gives the criminal the freedom to do the crime because they know they would get a free meal and live merry in jail. We know that there is some emotion in that one. What do we want to comment?
No. I want to take it. See, sometimes when people make these kinds of statements, that's the first thing people say, that's emotion. But if you examine it, it is exactly what happened. Now, Reverend Henry talks about incarcerating them for life. And this is what Carolyn is alluding to here. When you incarcerate them for life, in there, I can tell you this, groups like Amnesty International and all of that, whilst they fight for the abolition of the death penalty, they will now turn around and talk about humane and cruel and unjust treatment that you're keeping your prisoners into. And prisoners, they are still human beings, and what about the dignity and all of that? After they have fight to get the death penalty abolished, you now have to also keep them in jail, make sure they exercise, make sure they have the right diet, make sure they get all the medical attention that they will need, dental, so on, whatever. You have to do all of that. You can't keep them in jail and say that they are incarcerated for life. So therefore, we are going to deny you an unbalanced diet. You have to give them the right diet. We're going to deny you medical attention. We're going to deny you the right to sleep properly on a bed. You have all these human rights. Amnesty International is going to come and talk about all these things. So this thing about incarcerating them for life.
Mm-hmm. You know something, George? I really want to pick Clyde up on this one about incarceration for life.
Yes, it should.
Clyde, I have every reason to believe that you preach from your pulpit that if you fail to reach God's requirement, according to John 3:16, you shall perish. There isn't anybody who could be more loving than God, you've told me.
Depends on how you define everything.
Wait a minute. And we read that he has so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And those people who don't, what your same Bible tells me, it is awful to fall into the hands of the living God. And you can't want anybody more loving than God according to the dictates of your preachings. And I don't talk about Clyde's preachings now. I talk about what is written there in the handbook that we go by. And you are telling me that a man brutally murders some woman after raping her, cuts her throat. And we talk about incarceration for life and feed him in there according to our dear sister in the email. Feed him. And I'm not saying that this is revenge. I am saying that you are robbing him of what he has earned. And it is not fair to the vanquished. Justice has not been done. And I'm not sadistic. I'm not saying that I am bloodthirsty and I'm looking for blood. You have committed a crime commensurate with its penalty. Capital punishment. Why should you be deprived? You've earned it.